Hi, everyone. This is Christina Barr, and you're watching Black Tea News. Hi, everyone. This is Christina Barr. Welcome to Let's TikTalk About It with Black Tea News. And so, of course, this is our weekly show when we talk about TikTok videos. And today we're going to be talking about some about your President Joe Biden. And he's said some stuff a little racist, said some stuff a little creepy. We're going to be talking about some videos with some women wanting to know the burning questions about men and basically why they're not wanted. And they have strong opinions, and I will have some strong opinions about their strong opinions. And also, we're going to be talking about some pro-choice men critiquing other pro-life people, two in particular, and we'll have some stuff that's funny and stuff that's good. So thank you guys for tuning in wherever you are, making sure that you are liking, that you're subscribing, that you have notifications. Go ahead and share this video around. If you got interesting comments or questions, you can put them up in the chat. This is live. My last two that I've done have not been live. This is live. I am here. I am solo today, so you get to hear more of my opinion. Not that I don't enjoy my prestigious guests that I've had. I had someone scheduled today, but we just couldn't quite work it out. So I'm doing it solo, and we'll reschedule. And also, since you're here, if you are curious, I'm preaching tomorrow at my church in Rochester Hills. So if anyone's interested in that, I will put the information in the comments, I guess, and go from there. But let's just jump right into it. This very first video, this is a young woman who has a genuine question to men about why they are intimidated by strong women, and I find her opinion on what dictates what a strong woman is very interesting.
Genuine question: why are some guys intimidated by strong women? When I mean strong, I mean opinionated, who are advocates, who have something to say, who have a lot to say, who are not afraid, who are stubborn. Like, why?
Okay, so why do so many men find strong women so intimidating? And I first saw this video as a stitch. Someone was responding to it, and a man said, it's not that we don't like strong women, it's just that when you guys say strong women, you mean basically bossy and pushy, and you want to treat us like garbage. And so I thought that was an honest, real kind of opinion that he had. I mean, she describes a strong woman as someone who has a opinion, strong opinion, someone who's not afraid of voicing their opinions, and is stubborn. So if a man's dealing with a woman and she's stubborn and opinionated, it's fine if you're, opinionated, but she also said that she's stubborn. Now, some people like stubborn people, and being stubborn is fine to a degree. It depends what you're stubborn about. But if you're someone who will not listen, because she said someone who's opinionated, stubborn, and has an opinion, isn't afraid to voice their opinion. And she also said that they're an activist. So it's fine for women to have causes. Obviously, I'm very opinionated. No, I know how to get my point across. I'm stubborn, I think, in the right sort of ways. But men, if you listen to Kevin Samuels, or just men in general, they generally tend to want, women who are cooperative, not pushovers. But they don't want to be arguing all day. Maybe that's kind of fun when you're in college and you're, want to date someone who has different views because they're just that hot, I guess. But when you want to settle down and have a family, do you want to argue all day? Now, I know there are couples who have different views, but they know how to tamper them and put them aside respectfully, and they don't, it's obviously not the most important thing to them, their views. And they have, but if you're going to date someone, you have to have a particular set of fundamental morals that you agree with. So she said she's an activist. If you're a man, I guess if you're a pro-choice man or something, and she's like, I believe a woman has choice, or maybe you're just someone who doesn't want to have kids or something, maybe you'd be like, okay, yeah, that's fine, we're on the same side or whatever. But if you're talking to a man, even there'll be men who will say they are pro-choice, but they are only pro-choice as far as, oh, you can kill someone else's kid, but you ain't killing my kid. So if you're like an activist, like my body, my choice, they might be like, I'm looking for a woman who's going to be a mother and who's going to be nurturing. So I've seen several videos with women questioning men, and they'll list all the things that they have. And like, there was this one video I saw on TikTok, and there's this young black woman, and she's like, I graduated, I have my degree, I have my own house, I have my own car. And she talked about her education, and she's like, I'm bringing all this to the table. What are you bringing to the table? And if you ever watch like Kevin Samuels and these women who call on their line, and they'll be in their 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever, and they'll talk about all these things they have, all the money they've made, all the houses that they have, all this sort of product and stuff. And he's just like, those things don't matter to men. You're just naming a lot of things that as a couple that you can no longer do, that the fun is sucked out of. Like you're not going to have two different houses usually. So like someone's going to have to sell it. Someone's going to live somewhere else. But what a man wants, a legacy. They want to settle down. They want someone to bear and rear their children. And not saying that you can't have a job and do other sort of things and be independent and live your life, but there's a lot of women who just don't understand that what they think men want isn't what men actually do want. So she's saying she's opinionated, and she's claiming that that men are intimidated by that. No, it's just not what they exactly want. And if you're going to come strong with your opinion and be not agreeable, men want women who are agreeable, not pushovers, but agreeable. Like my mom, she is opinionated. She's generally kind of quiet, but she's opinionated. And what I respect about her, and what you would say is she's a strong woman, is she's not super affectionate. Her love language is like acts of service. So she'll do things for people to show her affection. She doesn't like hug too much and other stuff like that. But when they have a disagreement or something, she's strong enough of a woman to let it be today's problem, and tomorrow she's over it. By the time the sun goes down, boop, it's gone. Sometimes it takes more strength to put things aside for the betterment of your family than to argue about it all day long and the next day and turn into a week-long thing and then eventually a divorce. Therapy, like, no. My mom is a strong woman. She may have a disagreement with my father, but she, even though all of her kids are grown, she will not have it in front of her other kids, in front of her kids. That's something that she and my father will discuss later in private, even though the youngest just turned 26. So, what is your definition of strength? The things that she said kind of sound like, I'm an activist woman. Why aren't men more attracted to me? And it's like, because men want a woman who's going to be nurturing, and you're just talking about your causes and things that are important to you, and they want to build a family. Like, if they're just young and they're single and they're messing around and you're hot and they want to sleep with you, that is different. But if we're talking about building a life together, that's a totally different thing. I'm going to go on to the next video. I'm sorry. I don't know if there's a lag when you guys are watching this. It seems like there's a little lag when I'm recording it a little bit. Sorry if that is the case. Not sure what's going on. But I'm going to go ahead and play this next video.
What's a random thing you're bitter about? I'll go first. In like 7th or 8th grade, we read The Giver, as middle schoolers do. And at the end of it, we had a class debate on whether or not Jonas and his little brother escaped or died. There was a whole day dedicated to it. They had us split in half and pick our sides and argue about whether or not we thought the escape in the snow was a metaphor for them dying or if they genuinely did escape to a new society and live on. We debated this as if the ending was up for interpretation. I found out years later, The Giver is the first in a series. The story continues for 3 more books. One of those books follows Jonas's little brother because he grew up. Why the hell did Coach Russell make us debate?
So yeah, I read this book in high school, The Giver. No, I'm sorry, it's middle school. I really like the book, The Giver. And if you haven't seen the film, it's like one of the most conservative films they've ever made. If you want to see The Giver, it's a really good film. I don't remember a ton about the book. I guess pretty much just the highlights. But yeah, sometimes in school you'd have a teacher and they'd be so gung ho about all this stuff that they believe all of this means. But I don't know. Like sometimes it just felt like, are you sure like the author wasn't just saying like the apple is red and it's not just some kind of, are you sure it's like a bigger metaphor that we have to write like a 3-page paper on or something? Because I think not everything is probably symbolism and stuff. Like there are things like I'm a writer, right? One of my books is behind me, Slay Your Fear. That one's, nonfiction. Not that one's nonfiction, so that's not gonna have like all the different sort of like metaphors and stuff like some of my fiction and stuff has. But there's stuff I deliberately put in there, and then sometimes my sister will is reading one of my books and she'll ask me a question. She's like, "Did you do this on purpose or whatever?" And I'm just like, like sometimes things are not intentional, and it's so funny to me that I was reading the comments and someone said that at the ending they thought it was a metaphor. Like the student thought that they survived and it wasn't a metaphor for death, and they ended up getting like a ding on their test or something, even though there's 2 other books, so clearly it wasn't a metaphor for death. But apparently the author was very pressured by the publisher to continue on the series, so I don't know if that was a metaphor for death. But by the time this person was in middle school, all the other books were out, so it was definitely not up for the debate. And the teachers are just extra. They were just doing too much. They're just doing too much. Anyway, let's go on to our first Joe Biden video of the night. I know you guys want some political commentary, so here we go.
I got them $1.9 trillion relief so far. They're going to be getting checks in the mail that are consequential. I wrote the bill on the environment. Hey, how you doing, little mama? Let me whisper in your ear. Tell you something that you might like to hear. Pay them more. This is an employees bargaining chip now. What's happening?
And you're telling me that the feminists settled for this guy? That's crazy.
Yeah, so I don't know what Biden is like doing, this creepy sort of whisper thing. Maybe that's his way of kind of like telling off like reporters a little bit, being a little playful with them or whatever. And sometimes he just like tells them off or whatever. I don't know why people were like, we're going to get the adults back in the room and get Joe Biden, who on the campaign trail was clearly not so nice to the press sometimes, especially when you get upset. And he would just kind of bite back at them sometimes. So I'm just like, I don't know. I don't get them, other than the fact that they're just hacks. I mean, I guess when you just consider they're hacks, a lot of things just make sense. But it is weird with the creepy whispering. What do you guys think about it? I think it's weird. But Joe Biden, I believe like the bargaining chip now for the employees, I'm assuming, I'm not exactly sure what that context is for, but I'm assuming it's probably to do with people aren't going back to work because a lot of them are paid to stay home. And so you saw the narrative start to shift after like the unemployment numbers like weren't changing, or the job numbers weren't coming in the way that they thought it was going to come in. They started, saying things like, oh, well, this is actually a good thing because, people can use it to get more money like out of their employer and raise the wages and stuff. So that's a really bad attitude to have, because the government is still picking winners and losers, because the government is subsidizing these people so they can have that bargaining power. But businesses, whether they can afford or not, because They're not up to 100% capacity in states like in Michigan now I believe we are at 100% capacity, right? But they don't have the employees to handle that much, and not everybody is still going out. Like we haven't gone to a restaurant where it was like full yet, and it's not probably going to happen for some time. The fullest restaurant I've been in, I don't want to I won't say their names or anything, but they were kind of ignoring standards of how many people could sit at the tables anyway. So people maybe know that they're kind of more accustomed to handling more people, but they're still understaffed too. So people aren't making the sort of money that they were pre-pandemic yet people are being forced to raise their wages so they can get some people to come into work. And even if you have like a number that might sound good or might be even more than what people get paid being off work, people will still decide to be off work because they can stay at home, play Xbox, they can stay home and paint, they can work on their side hustle, they can do all of these things while still collecting a paycheck. So even if they could go to McDonald's or Taco Bell or places where they are actually now hiring at $14, $15 an hour, the livable wage, all these people said that they wanted, they are now at the point where they're not taking it still because they would rather not quite take the $15 an hour or a little bit less or whatever, so they can stay home and not have to work but still get a paycheck and get enough to make it by. So it's a really, really bad position that the Democrats, particularly Joe Biden, but particularly the Democrats, have put the American people in. And the creepy whisper. It's pretty bizarre. What do you guys think about creepy whisper Joe Biden? Oh gosh, it's embarrassing. I was with someone today and we were talking politics and just some of the weird stuff with Joe Biden, and they're just like, God bless his heart, and kind of the sweet Southern way of saying, oh, he's a fool, or oh, he's problematic, or oh, he's just trouble. But here's another video that is Joe Biden focused. I guess it's a little bit spoilery, but here we go.
Okay, so for everyone who feels like we haven't progressed as a country, I just want to remind you that somewhere out there's a kid whose dad is a crackhead, whose mom is a stripper, and whose grandpa is president of the United States. This is America.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes when I think about Joe Biden and his family tree and just how crazy the stories are with Hunter, like some people thought the laptop story was ridiculous and that no one would just leave their laptop there. But when you consider that he's a crackhead, it makes all the sense in the world. It makes all the sense in the world that he would do all this stuff. So he's, likes to make his own pornos, and so he's impregnated someone who he didn't want to claim the child. They had to do a paternity test. Joe Biden won't even say the accurate amount of grandchildren that he has. But when you look at him and just his situation, these people, he's so lucky that his dad is like the president of the United States, and then he dated his brother's widow. It's too much. It's just I don't want to say it's trailer trash because, I lived in a trailer park once upon a time ago, and I feel like that's unfair. I mean, there were some drama weirdness in where I used to live in areas and stuff, but this is next level just madness. And it's just weird to think that, I mean, it's even weirder than, and on some regard, than Trump being a reality TV star being our president of the United States, because it just seems like the trajectory of America, because we're so into TV and stuff anyway. So in celebrity worship and so on. So and then people have been I don't know, goading Trump into it for years, for 30, 40, for just a long time. So it's not crazy, but Biden and his family drama, it would be unheard of that all of this would happen, yet they'd still make it to be the president. And if Hunter Biden was Trump Jr., man, he must be spinning in it in circles when some of these Hunter Biden stories drop, knowing full and well how different it would be with the media being on Hunter, if it was Hunter Biden, I mean, it is Hunter Biden doing this stuff, but if it was, Don Jr., they would treat him totally different. And he's aware of it. That's why he roasts him so hard. Speaking of roasting, I'm going to roast the media. So this is a TikTok that I actually did. If you're not following my page, it's at Black T News on TikTok. And so I did this in response to the media started to say things like when they start to be open up to the idea of the Wuhan lab story, they admitted that, Trump was saying these things and they were doing investigations, but they didn't think it was plausible or whatever. And they just, they were just covering their tracks, I guess, but they didn't want to believe President Trump because they didn't find him credible. But I'm like, why is that though?
Shockingly, a conspiracy theory that the former President Trump had about COVID being man-made in a lab in China may actually prove to be true. Perhaps we should have given a little more credence to President Trump, but at the same time, you can't blame us. He has no credibility. Trump said that we'd have a vaccine by the end of the year, but since it's October and there is none, clearly he must be a liar. President Trump is advising all Americans to drink bleach. Or die. After converting his pillow factory to a mask-making factory, President Trump brought Mike Lindell to the White House. But if God can't deliver us from COVID, what makes you think he delivered Mike Lindell from crack cocaine? After a woman fed her husband fish tank cleaner, it's clear that this was a ritual sacrifice to appease their god, President Trump. A drug touted by President Trump can kill you if you overdose. Is the leader of the greatest military force in the world afraid of stairs? Does President Trump enjoy being peed on by Russian prostitutes? Only his gay lover, Vladimir Putin, knows the truth.
I love how I was watching and then someone just did a emoji. So, of course, I did all of these sort of things because the media had such crazy stories. All of those are based on real stories from the media. Like, is Trump afraid of stairs? That was an actual CNN story. The Russian prostitutes get peeing on Trump. That was from like that was a Golden Showers Gate or something is what they called it. Like from the dossier, the ridiculous dossier. And then people were saying he was, Putin's puppet. And so people had all kind of jokes about them being lovers and stuff like that. So I just, took a little liberty with that. But the prostitute thing is real. The drink bleach, people were saying Trump, saying drink bleach. That's not true. He said disinfectant. And in the context, they were talking about UV light therapy, which was being researched at the time for COVID. What else was in there? The vaccine, like at the final debate, they're like, you keep saying it'll be out, but it's not out, and you said that before. And lo and behold, was it not out? Were they not injecting people with the vaccine before the end of the year? Yep. And my governor probably knew about Pfizer, and like in Michigan, that they were close to it, because when they announced, after it was like clear that Trump was not going to reclaim the presidency, Pfizer is like, oh, by the way, we have a vaccine, it's like 94% accurate. It's like, what? So they knew about that. So but they kept telling lie after lie after lie on Trump, and they were the ones who were constantly destroying his credibility. So that's one of my TikToks. And FYI, I just did a TikTok where I was talking about critical race theory. I'm very proud of it. It's like the 5 stages of critical race theory, defending it. So please go check that out. And I'm going to go ahead and play my next video.
Biden says yet another dumb thing.
To get Latinx vaccinated as well. Why? They're worried that they'll be vaccinated and deported.
Hey, Joe. Not every Hispanic person in America is an illegal immigrant. Just thought you should know. And also, by the way, no one uses the term Latinx. Only 3% of Hispanics use it. So, just thought you should know that too.
Yeah, that's your president, guys. So, I don't know why all these people are so obsessed with making everything about race 24/7. a lot of people are hesitant about taking the vaccine. Military, nurses, and you know, people are hesitant because how fast it was created. People are now more hesitant because, you know, it's come out that, you know, it's probably made from that lab in China, that Wuhan lab in China, and they were kind of hiding it or kind of trying to protect it. Not even kind of. And that there's people in the world who take viruses, they make them deadlier than what they should be in case there's a mass pandemic so they can have like cures in advance. But I'm like, so what got out, you guys like created, and now you want people to inject themselves? Like before I was like, I'd just rather not. That's just how I felt. And now I'm just like, no, I'm not doing that. So, it's saying that people who are Hispanic don't want to take the vaccine because they'll be deported. They're afraid they'll be deported. That is really, really, really ridiculous. Super ridiculous. And they also make excuses for Black people not taking the vaccine, saying, well, oh, because of history, because of what happened with Tuskegee experiments, forced sterilization, and all this other kind of stuff, and eugenics being like part of our history, like especially in like academia and stuff. They're like, well, it makes total sense that Black people wouldn't want to take the vaccine. But it's like, white people can look at the same history. Like, history belongs to all of us. And so does Google. I mean, unless you're like in China or something and they're like limiting it, right? But but they do have a degree, right? But they just like limit it. So yeah. It just doesn't make any sense why you would think that the same sort of hesitancy a Black person would have is the same kind of hesitancy a white person would have. Because anti-vaxxers and stuff, they're the ones who like kind of enlightened me to some of that historical stuff that I had to look up about, like the Tuskegee experiments and stuff like that. And I've had people on my show that actually had people who died in the Tuskegee experiments. So it's not that far removed from history, but white people are aware of it, and so we can all be skeptical together, whether we get deported or not. Again, if there's a little lag, I'm not sure what it looks like on your end. It does look a little laggy on mine. I'm not sure exactly why, but I wanted to go on with the episode because I said I would be here. So I just got a few more videos that I want to get through. I'm not going to be all super long tonight. But this one's really interesting. I'm going to end up doing a TikTok response to this. 'Cause someone tried to come from Ben Shapiro, and it's just so silly.
No, why aren't you 60? Why aren't you 60?
All right, Ben Shapiro's out here making false equivalencies out the wazoo, debating high schoolers who don't know what they're talking about to make himself feel better. And this just proves Ben's lack of knowledge of gender as a concept. Ben is trying to say, oh, if I can identify as a different gender, then why can't I identify as a different age? Well, Ben, it's almost like the concepts of age and gender are fundamentally different. Age is an objective measurement of how long you've been around on this earth. Age is a measurement of time. Gender is not. And what Ben disingenuously did is he conflated sex and gender. No one is arguing that a transgender person changes their chromosomal structure when they identify as a different gender. So no, gender by no means is an objective measurement of anything. It is something that we societally construct. A more accurate comparison to changing your gender would be changing your name. It's just a label you prefer to identify with. But of course that's too nuanced for Ben Shapiro to ever understand.
Okay, so first thing with this kid, he is a kid. What I find interesting is that he said Ben Shapiro's come in after high schoolers. However, the woman in this video is not from high school. This was a college woman who Ben Shapiro said, what age are you? And in the video, she says she's 22. So this kid in the video, who is 18, by the way, according to his profile, is saying he shouldn't be going after high school kids to make himself look smart or whatever. My opinion on that is there's so many dumb kids out here who are like that age, 18, 22, whatever. And I don't want to tell them not to engage because I felt like I was a pretty smart 22-year-old. And I would have better arguments than a lot of these people. Not as obviously as well studied as I am now. And there's always more stuff you can learn. So you're hopefully as you get older, you are getting wiser, and not just getting knowledge, but being wiser. But this, if you're going to make arguments like, oh my gosh, an older person came for a younger person to dunk them in a debate, that is so stupid to me. Like, you cannot come for an adult to engage in a debate if you're going to be a little rugrat and then be upset when an older person dunks on you because you don't have a well thought out opinion. Then you need to stay playing in the sandbox and stay out of grown folks' business. That is how I feel. That is how I feel. If you want to be on TikTok giving your political-ish thoughts and stuff, and you sound like a moron, that was your choice to go out there to sound like a moron. And if the adults have to give you a spanking, metaphorically, like figuratively or whatever, we're going to do it if we have to. We're entitled to do that. If you want to take time to wisely more think out these things, or be a little bit more humble and state your opinions in a more sort of I'm figuring things out sort of way, rather than, oh my gosh, Ben Shapiro, like, it's the arrogance is just so undeserved for like this generation. It's so undeserved. It's insane. And they don't want to just listen more. They just want to talk and dunk and score points. But anyway, to his point, about the sex and gender. And so he says that you can't compare them. But by the way, he has a video just a few videos ago where he does compare like gender or sex and age. He does make that comparison himself. And there's other people on TikTok who have dunked on him about that. But to the whole time age is a measurement of time, like how much we've lived, and he's saying that is objective while gender is subjective. No. Because not everyone even agrees how you measure age. If you are Korean, you don't measure your age the same way you would do in America. I believe they start the 1 year from when they are born. If I remember from the research I did, but I do know it is different measurement of what they do compared to what we do. So it's not totally objective. We understand it from different cultures, but not everyone is in agreement, even with the point that he's saying that we're all in agreement about. Now, the argument isn't whether you can identify as anything. The argument is whether really at large is whether gender is tied to sex. So Ben is arguing you can't magically change your gender, as in you can't magically just pretend that you're a different sex. He's saying, this kid in this video is saying that sex and gender aren't tied together, and your gender is as something as meaningless as your name, which your name isn't meaningless, but you can legally change your name. So they're saying you could legally change your gender if you do, or not even like needing to take legal steps to even do it, that you can, it's just something that you can do, and it's subjective to whatever society dictates. Now, I wrote an article about this on blacktnews.com. I don't believe anyone literally believes that sex and gender are separate, because society at large has already dictated that they are together. If you're going to say that gender is decided on society, we have, as a society, already decided. It's already decided. They're trying to unconvince us of something we're already aware of, that gender and sex are tied together. And a lot of these activists who claim it is not tied together will get so upset when you talk about something that is biological. If you talk about, men can't have periods, men can't have babies, people will get upset. Why? It's 100% biological. They want men who identify as women to play in women's sports. Why? If it's biological, sports has so much to do with biology. Therefore, why would you go that way? Why would you go that route? Why make that argument if it's about gender? Why can't you keep identifying as a woman but play with the men? You want to play with biological women while claiming that sex and gender are different. No, you know that there is a difference, and that's why you're playing with the women, because you're a coward and you think you can win now. So people know that people know that sex and gender are intertwined. So his argument is silly, and I'm going to do a TikTok probably tonight debunking his nonsense. And TikTok, you can do something called a stitch, where part of their video will play and then you can reply to it. His video's still up, but you cannot reply. You cannot stitch it. So at least the last time I looked. So I will see if I have to just like take his video and cut it point by point, which I'm willing to do. It's just a really, really dumb argument. But he's 18 and he's too arrogant for his own good. It's undeserved. But let's go on. Let's go on.
This is a really good question. When the pandemic first started, my neighbor started this business called Borrow My Black Baby, and I thought, perfect, because I really felt like it was time to start my career on TikTok as a TikTok mom, but I didn't have a black baby, and I know that's really trending. So I asked my husband, will you make a black baby with me? And he said, I don't see the value in that. I said, it's good for views. He said, I don't care. And so, until I can convince him that this is an asset to our future, yes, I will be continuing to borrow my neighbor's black baby. Yes.
I thought that was like the best way to respond to that question. It was the absolute best way. I love some good sarcasm. And she like invented like a whole business. Borrow My Black Baby. BorrowMyBlackBaby.com. So and the funny thing though, that comment that someone asked her to, that she replied to, it was from a video that she did where she's talking about breastfeeding. Do you honestly think like it would make sense that a woman's just doing a breastfeeding video holding her baby and that she's not using her baby while she's talking about breastfeeding? Isn't it likely? You would think that they are holding their baby. Now, maybe she didn't see the front of the baby and assume it's age, see kind of its features. Like the baby clearly looks like its mother. But people, I don't know, they get so protective about black people and like that. I don't know. I've seen people come after white people for adopting black children. And I don't know, maybe this is just a way they're coming for her, but obviously that is her baby, and how she responded to that person. And maybe they weren't a troll. They were just, someone asking a dumb question. But it was perfect how she responded. I love that video. Props to her. I loved it. She gave them the sarcasm that they deserved. Let's go on. So this is another video, another pro-choice man video, and it's such a dumb take. I'm like warning you. It's such a dumb take. It's so dumb.
Stop scrolling. I finally figured out how to get rid of pro-life men. I'm 100% convinced that if men had uteruses, the entire pro-life stance would just cease to exist. Because simply put, misogynistic men, because that's what you are if you're a pro-life male, misogynistic men simply do not know what it's like to go through pregnancy. I have a few things I'm proposing that us pro-choicers do to limit and destroy pro-life men. So any man that comes out as pro-life has to wear a bodysuit for about 8 to 9 months. This really heavy bodysuit that makes it hard for them to walk and hard for them to do basic everyday things. Then we have these inventions called pain holes. Think of them like swear jars, but for stupid pro-life dudes. Women need to keep these jars in their homes, and then whenever a man comes out with a stupid pro-life stance, whenever a man says something against women's bodily autonomy, he has to stick his hand in this jar, and it simulates the pain of what it's like to go through both pregnancy and childbirth. I have one final idea. It's the most tricky, but I also think it's going to have the biggest impact. Stay tuned.
Okay. This is really dumb, because if he thinks men are just pro-life because they don't experience childbirth, because they can't experience pain that entails, which it include gearing up for it, which would be your period, monthly, and then actual, labor pains and so on. It doesn't explain why women are pro-life, why mothers are pro-life. It doesn't make any sense. None whatsoever. It's stupid. And I can't believe he made this point with like such confidence. With such confidence, man. With such confidence. Women are pro-life. At least half of us are, right? So, and a lot of those people who say they're pro-choice, they don't actually like abortion. They just don't want to be invested enough to tell other people no, or they sympathize with women in hard choices or whatever. They don't actually like it. So this whole debate about pain or believing that pro-life men are only just they don't care about women, basically, and if they could feel what they feel, then they would change their mind. It still ignores the life and the value of the child and their rights as an individual. It's just such a ridiculously bad argument. And this guy is not a thinker, from what I've seen of a couple videos. They're all just bad. But one of the videos I saw him on, he was doing a debate with someone that I follow. And I think I follow them. But they were doing a debate about voter ID laws and stuff, like voter integrity. And so he was arguing why you shouldn't have to have photo ID. And he said, well, there are other ways that you can identify yourself. And they said, how? And the person who's debating with said, how? And so he said, oh my gosh. He said we could use our social security cards. Would you just want to, instead of having an ID, first of all, you can just go get a social security card. And if you still don't have like a photo ID, some way to validate that you are who you say you are, like visually, then you could still steal someone's identity. A valid picture to identify yourself is important. Okay, so there's that. But would you want to bring your social security card to the voting polling place and just show everybody there? I mean, you've probably been to a polling place, right? And voted. So they take your card, they take your information, they write it down, so on. It's like a line of people. There's always like 4 people at like the station, at least when I go vote or whenever. So let's say all 4 of these people have access to your social security card or whatever. Like, I know people have to take your social security number for like information, like it was like Comcast or your water bill or something, like when you pay bills or something like that. But I don't think it's the same kind of maybe scrutiny and tracking down that would happen, because the government is incompetent. Let's just like go with that. So I would assume that it's very possible that there could be a new string of like identity theft, like sweeping the nation over this dumb opinion. And then also, if you have to bring your social security card, which I think would be easier to forge than, I don't know, your ID or whatever. I don't know. It just seems it's just so bizarre. I mean, it'd be easier to steal one, I guess. Maybe forge. A lot of people don't have their social security card, or don't have extra copies of their social security card. So if you think voters, like it's voter suppression for everyone to have IDs, when like what 75-80% of the people have IDs, or like Americans or something, 83, it's just high. A high percentage of Americans have IDs because people need IDs to participate. If you're gonna ride the bus, you usually have to have an ID. If you want to get cold medicine, you gotta have an ID. If you want to go to the movie theaters and see something that's above like your 8, PG-13 or something, like when it gets to R or something, you need an ID. If you want to get alcohol, you need an ID. If you want to drive, you need a driver's license. People have ID. And in Georgia, you can get an ID for the purposes of voting. It's going to be free. I have someone I follow on TikTok. They're going to do a debate about Georgia voting laws. And or no. I'm sorry. They're not doing a debate. Someone asked them a question about the Justice Department. The Justice Department is suing Georgia. Did you guys know that? The Justice Department is suing Georgia over their voting laws. And someone asked him, what do you feel about this? He said the Democrats think black people are too stupid to get free IDs. That is where the Democrats are going with this, that they're too stupid to get free IDs and that they don't drive cars. It's just really, really ridiculous. So they couldn't get their dumb HR1 passed that would have took over elections. So now they're taking out on states and they're suing Georgia, just wasting time over these dumb voting laws. Oh my gosh. Like, what, to protect like drop off boxes that didn't exist before last year? It makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. It's so dumb. But anyway, anyway, that's where he's at. I did a TikTok mocking that dumb opinion so severely. But back to this dumb take about how he believes pro-life men had to finally shut them up is to find a way to make them experience childbirth, which of course is ridiculous because women experience childbirth and are still pro-life. It is just a really, 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 really dumb take. I can't believe how dumb of a take someone would make. But he's just a silly guy, I guess. And to state them with such ferocity. But that's not why we're pro-life. Just because we sympathize with other women that they have to go through the pain of childbirth. We're concerned about women. We're concerned about men and women because you got to birth one or the other. It is and some people say that it's just a religious issue. And I think maybe I might have sent something where he said that, something like that too. But a lot of people try to just say it's an issue of like religious issue. I don't know a lot of people who even like, I know a lot of religious people who will say it's wrong, it's murder, whatever, but usually they're arguing with other religious people. Well, most of the people who I follow who make any sort of arguments like Ben Shapiro, whoever, they don't make religious arguments about abortion. And I don't either unless I'm talking to someone who's religious and we both respect that level of authority. But I usually just like, where does life start? Every pro-life argument needs to start with where does life begin? And go from there. Because when you establish where life begins, there's no reason why that life shouldn't be protected. There's no reason. Baby can suck their thumb at like 9 weeks. That's very early. It's unlikely, but it's possible for babies to be sucking their thumb at 9 weeks. You want to say something like that they do for comfort? Is that it's not alive? That it's not a life? That it doesn't deserve to be protected? So Joe Biden, Jen Psaki, people have been asking them, about like, do you believe, not even 9 weeks, 15 weeks, do you believe that a baby in the womb is alive at 15 weeks? And Jen Psaki dodged that, man, like she was playing dodgeball from the film. Like if you can dodge a question, you can dodge a ball. And she said, yeah, if you're asking whether Joe Biden believes in a woman's right to choose, yes. No, that's not what they asked you, Jen. They wanted to know whether the President of the United States believes a child at a fetus, which is an unborn human baby, in the womb at 15 weeks, if that is alive or not. Not whether it deserves personhood, but whether or not it's alive. And you can't even answer that question, whether or not it's alive. I can't with these people. And so he, they asked him about the bishops and, wanting to question him or not taking communion. And he said, that's a personal matter. He's going to let that be whatever, or not talk about it or dodge that. And I'm sure they'll keep dodging this issue because they don't want to talk about the nitty gritty of abortion and personhood, because it's just inhumane what we do at this country, that we would allow all this to go on for as long as we have, knowing what we do nowadays with science. There's no reason. There's no reason. Someone said, like, was talking about, you know, you want to interrupt a woman's constitutional right. I'm just like, can you point in the Constitution where, you know, a woman has the right to kill anyone over convenience? Like, I know we have a very bad Supreme Court decision that even like Ginsburg said was a bad decision, you know, but it is what it is, and we'll have to keep fighting. We will have to keep fighting. Well, that is my last video that I have for tonight. I said it wasn't going to be long tonight, and I will be back next week. Well, I'm going to, I'll have my shows I'll be doing throughout the week, during like the afternoon, and then, on next Saturday, I'll be here at 7:30 doing Let's TikTok About It. I will have a guest. At this point in time, I believe I will be live, but I'll let you guys know. But before I go, please visit blackteennews.com. Check out content that I have. If you're on TikTok, please go like my TikTok. I just did a video. I'm going to post it very soon to my Instagram and my Facebook page and my YouTube page, so you can share it that way. But it's about the 5 stages of critical race theory of defending it. I think it's really good. You guys are really going to enjoy it. Thank you guys for joining me tonight, because I do think there's a lag, but I appreciate you guys being on. And go to the website and check out, merchandise that I have, like the I Am Not the Victim You're Looking For shirt. You can check out the, Defeat Joe Biden t-shirt, get the GOAT shirt or the hoodie. And I voted for President Trump, and all I got was historic peace deals, border security, etc. It's so crazy how right Trump was about so much stuff. I mean, even them like clearing out the Lafayette, square, them claiming that he was doing it for a photo op and he had like nothing to do with it. I mean, we just live in a wackadoodle world, and they just have no accountability with the media. It's so ridiculous. So check out those things. Go to my website, and you can also get Slay Your Fear: How to Overcome a Spirit of Fear. And I'm sure that you guys will really, really, really like that book. And if you guys would like to support blackteennews.com, you can go to the website. Just go to the website, blackteennews.com/donate, and you can do it there. I'm also showing this ticker tape that I usually have throughout the whole thing, but I just popped it up right there, that has information on where you can do it on PayPal or how you can do it via Cash App. And I'm looking forward to topics just throughout the week that I'm going to go over next week. I'm going to be talking about this abortion topic with Joe Biden and how the bishops don't want to give him communion, how the Democrats are saying we're weaponizing the Eucharist, which I'm not Catholic, but I, understand the importance of it. I guess, at least in concept, I guess. I'm you guys know I'm Christian. I'm just not Catholic. But still obviously supporting abortion, and not just supporting it because he says personally he's against it. That's what they say. But as the president, he believes that a woman should have the right to choose. Okay, but why do you believe that our taxpayer dollars should fund it though? Why do you believe that, sir? Eventually I would like to have one of my friends on who, I've met some people in the pro-life movement, people who have gone through having an abortion, that I'm going to have them on talking about the sort of lies that they tell women. I don't personally believe that women have, are truly offered, enough information to truly consent to what they're doing. I know people have to go through procedure, paid, etc., or whatever, but they don't give them really a lot of information, or they'll give them the wrong kind of information to still goat them into it. I edited a video for someone this past weekend. They told their story about their abortion and how they regret it, and even not just like the whole "it's a clump of cells" argument, or, you know, lying, or it won't feel it, or how they try to say like, well, what was your dream, and do you have the money for this, or that kind of other stuff, where they kind of like make you feel like you don't have a choice other than abortion. She said, just like the lie, like everything will go back to normal after this. And she said, there never was a back to normal for me. So even like telling stories like that, we're gonna have some interesting guests. I'm gonna have some political guests that will be running for office that are gonna come on my show. So you guys can look out for that. And we're going to have. I'm really excited about what's upcoming for Black Tea News. You know, on the Saturday show, on the weekly show, and just other stuff for the site, and also merchandise that, you know, I'll be having up soon. And there's a lot of good things on the horizon, and I do thank you guys for being a part of it and being a part of the conversation. And I'm going to see you guys next time.